always seems to be dusk when I do these. It's just the time of day, I guess, that I end up, I'll eventually have to turn on a light, but that light is so harsh that I'm going to try and stick with this as long as I possibly can before I turn on that really harsh light. I do apologize. So we did a video a while back that had pretty much everything in it, that tried to cover as much as possible, but there's no way I could cover everything. So I'm actually going to break it down into 2 separate videos and give you not only a bit more tips and pointers and different types of howls and growls and things, but what they mean, because it's important to understand, especially for animal soul people. It's important to understand, okay, this is something that means a playful growl, or this is something that means a defensive growl, a dominating growl. You know, all these different things mean different things. It's kind of like their own language. I kind of call it wolf tongue, because it is like their own little language. And you do need to understand, at least in general, the difference between those different things, because we're trying to use this as a way to free that side of ourselves, to give that side of ourselves a voice, to express how we feel. And it kind of be defeating the purpose if you went to growl and you were angry, but instead you were unknowingly imitating the type of growl that, you know, animals do when they're, you know, jaw sparring or playing with a bone or something, and it's a playful growl, you know, or vice versa. You know, you're trying to sound playful and instead sound very angry. It's just something that you're trying to do to express that side of you, to give that side of you a voice. You have to truly learn the language, you know. I will say that even though all animals growl, all the vocalizations may be different in different species in terms of what they mean in things. Some of them you can take and apply to other species, especially in Echinidae species, or most. But, you know, I'm going to focus on wolf because that's what I do. That's that biggest part of my soul is a wolf, so that is what I have to focus on. But you can apply this to other animals, any animal that growls, really. You can, a lot of it you can apply. So we're going to start out first with just a simple, how do I even do this? How do I even do it and actually sound like real? There's a lot of tips that I can give you, but the biggest tip that I'm going to say first, and I have to get this out, I have to get it out of the way, because a lot of people don't realize just how important it is. Don't just listen to me, listen to actual wolves, and then try to imitate, listen, attempt, listen, attempt, listen, attempt. And then once you've gotten somewhere with it, or once you think you've gotten somewhere with it and you're getting close, record yourself, listen back to your own voice, because a lot of times we sincerely do not know what we really sound like. We think we sound like one thing and we actually sound like something totally different. That's why I say always record it once you've got, and that really is going to, for the howling one that I'll do later, I'll do it in a separate video. That is really going to be important for the howling one, because you can learn to growl in a couple of days, but a lot of people take months to years to learn how to howl. And by the way, so do wolves. That takes them that long too. So it actually, all the sound comes from here, doesn't it? You're not making it with your lips, you're not making it with your nose, you're not making it with your tongue. Well, your tongue has a little bit to do with it, because especially if it's curled all the way forward, like if you're snarling and you're trying to curl it forward like that, like the wolves, that's actually has a significance in body posture if his tongue is curled forward like that. If you're trying to do that, it does. A brachiocephalic, smushy human faces, they're too small and our tongues are too fat. And so when we cut our tongue forward like that, it ends up changing the pitch of it a little bit. So I'll snarl first without it, and then I'll snarl with it. And yes, it does have to be forward as you can get it, unless you want to show that you're fearing something, because back like that is pulled back is like fear. So unfortunately it doesn't look as nice, but it should be, you know, when you're snarling. It's okay if it's pulled back a little bit, because the human face is only so much you can do. But anyway, So when the tongue is curled forward, it changes it from to this. See how much it changes it? It's not ideal, and that's just what you got to work with your smushed in human face. It's just you can't. So unfortunately, that's what it sounds like when you curl your tongue. But other than that, really, most of the sound is dictated by this. It's the back of your throat, and it's the same part of your throat that allows you to speak and talk. So you're vibrating that, and you're vibrating it so ferociously that literally your whole chest is going to feel like it's vibrating. The floor around you is going to, or the ground around you is going to feel like it's vibrating. If you do it right, that's how powerful a vibration it is. And it takes a lot of muscles to build up, and that's why sometimes it might get a little sore at first, but once you build up those muscles, it's not sore at all. So anyway, we're going to start out with a few tips and other things before we get into the types of growls. So some people, they find it, I don't really find this too helpful, but some people find it helpful, so I'm going to do it anyway. If they can actually see where the sound's coming from. So I apologise for the double chin, but I'm going to show you where the sound comes from, from watch right there. So I don't know if you can really see. I'll try it one more time. So anyway, that is not as helpful as some other things. So it's really back in there, really deep and back in your throat. It's kind of have to open your throat and relax it, but at the same time, it's almost like a backward snore. Like instead of inhaling, it's exhaling, and it's not through your nose; it's through your throat. Some of this is just like you're gonna have to trial and error it, and there's no way around it. So we're gonna start out with the easiest, two of the easiest ones. The first one is that kind of warning growl, and you hear it a lot of times if somebody hears something in the distance and it's territorial, like, oh, I heard that, and they're warning, they're getting ready to do something about it, or it's a test of dominance, and they're trying to just kind of that low warning. It's a warning growl to a subordinate or to someone else to try and keep them in line. So this is what that one sounds like. Before I go any further, though, I forgot to say, like I said, it's all here. I can make that same sound. I mean, yes, it muffles a bit, but even with my mouth closed and without snarling versus snarling, see, the lips are not changing the sound much. It's the throat that's changing that's making that sound and manipulating it, and the tongue a little bit as well, but not really the lips. You do almost anything you want to do with your lips, and it still sound the same. So the lips are normally just for facial cues. They're body language, and typically that's what that's used for. In fact, there's a little quiver that happens when wolves are angry. That little lip starts quivering. It's literally like an angry twitch. And this lighting is so terrible that I have to get right straight up in my face to show you, so I do apologise. It's just as painful for me as it is for you. Actually, did it on accident the first time I did it, or I didn't think I would ever figure it out. I was angry, I growled, and it just happened. It's kind of involuntary, and therefore it's kind of difficult to do it on purpose. The good thing about wolves and most any animal is that they don't just do things to do them. They do things for a purpose, and they're never gonna fake angry. So anything they do reflects exactly what they are thinking inside, their intent inside. Moving on. So the next one's going to be a playful growl. That's pretty easy to do. You know, you heard dogs do it all the time. Okay. The next one we're going to do is a bit more complicated. Is air snap. So basically, you know, they're snapping down at the air next to usually somebody's face. Not always. Sometimes if you've seen a dog that is possessive over a treat to something, you might have seen them do this. So our human mouths you don't hear the teeth click that much in our human mouths when we, you know, bite down. So really you're relying on the air. You're relying on the force of the air. So you are going to have to open your mouth really wide for this one. This is one of the only ones where maybe not the shape of your lips, but at least how widely your mouth is open. You have to open really wide and then clamp down really fast and let that air get pushed out, because that's what makes the sound. Okay, so let's focus on that first, and then we'll focus on the second part in a minute. So anyway, the next part of it is that inhaling. It's basically like the brain is saying, I'm going to keep growling, you know, even when I'm inhaling. It's a constant growl, and so, you know, basically it's relaxed, but that's why you get that part of it. Okay, so for the second part is a really easy trick you can do. Snort like a pig, go like this, do that. Anyone can do that. Okay, and then slowly try to morph it into, okay, so sometimes you'll do it on accident, just on accident when you're doing it. Okay, so the next one combines several that we just did. It's basically, you know, you're protecting something, you're possessing over something, not necessarily territory over land, but your territory over an item, a thing. Sometimes it can even be someone, but it's like a bone or something, and you're like fiercely trying to protect it. Okay, so usually it's a low warning first, and it gets louder, and then usually some air snaps, and then it gets softer again, and then it gets back louder again. So let's do that. So that was the most complicated because it's basically like a full sentence. It's combining a lot of different things. It's, I'm warning you, really do not, you better not, seriously do not, I'm warning you. That's translated to human. Basically what it is. So it's just that repeated over and over again. Soft, then loud, for the few air snaps probably, and then soft, then loud, then soft, then loud. Okay, so the last one you only hear, usually, this last one, if an animal is either frightened to death, backed into a corner, or intent to kill, you know, maybe fighting over territory or something. This is the most difficult one, I think, to do, because it does run off a lot of emotion, and it's almost like I have to fake be mad. I have to act, and this one is like rage beyond rage. I'm gonna rip your head off rage, and so I'm not pretty good at this one, but I'll try. Okay, you're trying to basically yell as loud as you can through a growl. It's like a yelling growl. You're trying to make your growl as loud as possible. I'm not very good at that one. I'll admit, I don't have to be, you know, practicing that one much, thankfully, because I don't plan on ripping people's head off and being backed into a corner very often. But yeah,